And in this next news story, a prison officer who was besotted with a prisoner and performed a sex act on a convicted burglar and referred herself to as his queen has been jailed for 21 months. Katie Evans, who's 26, was locked up after admitting to an intimate relationship with the inmates Daniel Brownlee at HMP Doncaster. The mother of one from South Yorkshire boasted to an ex-prison officer that she had performed an oral act on the convict. Phone records revealed she had communicated with Brownlee 140 times on a SIM card that had been smuggled into the Category B jail, with some calls lasting nearly an hour. During their phone conversations, Evans called herself "your queen" whilst talking to Brownlee, who was serving 5.5 years for burglary, attempted robbery and handling stolen goods. Evans was sentenced at Sheffield Crown Court the other day, where Judge Jeremy Richardson KC told her she had betrayed the trust placed in her as a prison officer. He told Evans, who was sobbing in the dock, "There must be a prison sentence. Corrupt prison officers must be punished. There is no question about that. The public expects punishment for those who betray trust in the way that you did. It is truly a terrible situation for a judge to be passing sentence on a former prison officer who has been branded a corrupt prison officer, but it must be done." Evans, who admitted misconduct in a public office, committed the offences between March and November 2020 while working at HMP Doncaster while she was 21 years old. Phone records revealed she had 39 conversations with Brownlee in just one day, and she also boasted to an ex-prison officer that she had performed oral on him. Judge Richardson told Evans it appears a SIM card for a mobile telephone had been smuggled into the prison. "You were not involved in that, however. You communicated via telephone to this prisoner on 140 occasions." He said there were regular conversations. Some of the calls were long. "You formed an intimate relationship with this prisoner. You described yourself to him as your queen. It appears that you indulge in some forms of activity in the prison. As I said, it has been described that there's been one occasion when you performed oral with him." The court heard that Evans had boasted about collecting £1,000 in respect of cannabis deals on behalf of Brownlee and shared confidential prison information with him. Judge Richardson said her behaviour was a serious manifestation of corruption that undermined public confidence in the prison system. He told her, "You were manipulated by a serious criminal to assist him. Your misconduct materially affected the good order and discipline of the prison. You not only had some form of intimacy with the prisoner, but you also assisted him in the conduct within the prison in terms of handling money for him and sharing prison information about him with him." Judge Evans added, "Whether that was money relating to drugs or it was legitimate is near here or there. You were not permitted to handle the money of prisoners. You certainly boasted whether it was true or not that £1,000 connected to cannabis was handled by you. You shared information about the prisoner which he had no business to know, and you discussed prison arrangements in relation to him, and you communicated with him by using a false name in order to camouflage your real identity." The defence barrister Edward Moss told the court that Evans was immature and vulnerable at the time of the offences. He said she was manipulated by Brownlee and ashamed of her behaviour. The judge reduced her sentence from 2 years to 21 months as an act of mercy due to a young daughter. Judge Richardson said Evans was no doubt filled with remorse and told her, "You were a prison officer at the time. You were also very young at the time. You were inexperienced and immature. That is, however, no excuse for what you did." He added, "I appreciate prison will fall hard upon you as a former prison officer." A self-confessed monster has been jailed for at least 18 years for the gratuitous murder of a chef who was Gordon Ramsay's protege at Notting Hill Carnival. Charity worker Omar Wilson, who's 31 years old, repeatedly punched and kicked Musi Imantu, who's 41, during an altercation outside the Dr. Power restaurant in Queensway in West London on August the 26th last year at around 11:20 p.m. The killer was eventually held back by friends and fled the scene, dropping his sunglasses and the keys to his car and his house. Mr. Imentu, who had worked under chefs Gordon Ramsay and Marcus Waring, was said to have been heavily intoxicated at the time of the incident and died in hospital 4 days later from a brain injury. I just want to say rest in peace and my condolences go out to your family. After the attack, Wilson went out clubbing with his friends at the Ministry of Sound and confessed to one of them in a text message writing, "There's a monster in me, and it's just like sometimes it comes out, and I think I've messed up now and everything's finished. I've fucked up big time. I crossed the line. I went overboard. I couldn't control myself. I don't think I can come back from this mistake. I'm going to jail in the morning." Wilson, who's got a couple of kids, said he acted in self-defense despite CCTV showing Mr. Imentu had not thrown a single punch. During his Old Bailey trial for murder, Wilson told jurors, "I just regret that somebody's life was taken while I was trying to defend mine." Following his arrest on August 28, Wilson of Leytonstone in East London told police he had struck the victim in self-defense. He claimed Mr. Imentu was behaving erratically, harassing girls, and had a bottle. He told police he was trying to protect the women, telling officers he was calling me a little boy, portraying he's a bigger man than me, older than me, and I was like, this ain't going to end well for him. I thought he was going to attack me, man, but by the time that this thought was going through my head, I decided to let loose. By the time he took his hat off, I didn't want to get hit in it, especially not with a bloody bottle. I've seen it too many times. We just come from the carnival. When asked if he wanted control of the situation, he said, "I didn't want control. I just wanted to protect the ladies in it. I wasn't angry. I wasn't annoyed. I was asking him to move. I was moving nervous." Wilson said he headbutted Mr. Imentu to create some space between them. He said, "I was thinking I need to defend myself. I didn't want to just strike out. He's telling me he ain't going nowhere and I'm a little boy. When I get hit with the bottle in my face, that's me finished for life." He said he took Mr. Imentu taking his hat off as a sign he was going to fight him. During the trial, the jury had been shown graphic CCTV footage showing Wilson approaching Mr. Imentu and headbutting him. About a minute later, Wilson punched Mr. Imentu 5 times in the head, causing him to fall to the ground. Wilson continued to punch Mr. Imentu repeatedly while he was on his hands and knees and kicked him in the head. The defendant then left and was dropped off outside the Ministry of Nightclub in London, where he went to party. In the aftermath of the attack, Wilson was asked by friends how the carnival was going, to which he said, "I can't lie, I did the hands ting and I think it's a manslaughter ting." Judge Philip Katz said that his evidence that he believed Mr. Imentu had a broken bottle was a deliberate lie. Sentencing the defendant for life with a minimum term of 18 years, Judge Katz says Musi and those who loved him are the victims in this case, and the impact of his murder has been severe. His brutal death on the streets was captured on CCTV and the footage was deeply shocking to watch. Musi was defenseless on the ground when he was punched, and "you kicked him to death," and he added that the kick to Mr. Imentu's head was entirely gratuitous and could be an abhorrent lethal weapon. He said it needs to be clearly understood that unlawful street violence of this sort impacts on the confidence of members of the public to go out and enjoy themselves. The culpability of those involved in such brazen conduct is significantly raised. He continued, "You cannot control your temper. Only a few seconds after punches were aimed by both of you, you tripped Musi and he fell to the ground and you could have walked away. As he knelt, you rained further punches down on his head and you could have walked away. However, you stood up, raised your leg and kicked him hard to the head. Kicking someone to the head when they are defenseless on the ground is abhorrent and it's not manslaughter." So Wilson had 12 convictions for 20 offences on his record relating to weapons, and when he was last in jail, he was helped by an organisation called Beyond Recovery, which helps find jobs for offenders, and he actually became a director. Mr. Imentu's wife described her husband as respected, admired and loved in a pre-recorded victim impact statement played in court. She said Musi didn't just leave behind a legacy for his family, he left an undeniable mark on his workplace and community. Nothing can undo what has been taken from us. I asked the court to remember that this man was his character, his integrity and the life he built, not just the circumstance of his passing. A short recording of Mr. Imentu's 6-year-old wishing his daddy goodbye was also played, which the judge called heart-wrenching. He said, "I love you, daddy. Bye-bye, daddy." So guys, this is a new story coming in. Once again, I just want to say rest in peace to the victim. My condolences go out to your family.